Now we are live.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Santi. I work at Cloudways. Allow me a couple of minutes to say a few words before we move to the webinar with Sat, Lee, Picha, and Jan. Today is a very special day for us. We're launching the Cloudways Maverick program and doing our first live webinar. Many more to come. This year, the Cloudways team attended the Europe and US WordCamps, Magento Live Europe, and we sponsor events and people to represent us around the world. Through all these interactions, we were overwhelmed by the appreciation from our customers and partners.
Now we are live.
Hi, everyone. Thanks.
Somebody
To
just
our vision to enable them to move their dreams forward. Yes, sometimes we kind of suck at it, but we always try our best. We mean it. Today is special because we're launching the Cloudways Maverick program to help us expand deeper into this vision that everyone values. A Cloudways Maverick brings the power of the Cloudways vision and values to the community through remarkable initiatives. It's not an ambassador program, as you call it. It's not attached to sales numbers for them. Its focus and purpose is to give back to the communities from all our stakeholders. These range from a designer in France, to a freelance growth hacker in the US, to SMBs running e-commerce sites selling to every corner of the world, to a PHP developer working out of a terrace in Athens developing sites for her clients, to a prominent digital agency in London's Coventry Road, to a family business in Atlanta, or to a retail shop in Brazil. Our goal is to make it easier to move your dreams forward through remarkable initiatives in your communities. Now, I believe I still got a minute before moving to the webinar. Let me introduce the 4 Cloudways Mavericks we're starting the program with. Jan Koch. Jan, say hi. Jan is a WordPress professional based in Germany. He's an agency owner, host of WP Agency Summit, and a developer with 8+ years experience of working with WordPress. Next is Lee Jackson. Lee helps agency owners fall back in love with their agencies. He runs a community for owners, Agency Trailblazer, and hosts the Agency Trailblazer podcast with over 12,000 downloads a month. He's quite big. He's the go-to expert when it comes to removing the stress from running an agency and has spoken at events across the UK. Picha Neri. Hi, Picha.
Hey.
A practicing designer for over 2 decades, working with global brands and cultural institutions. Picha runs her own global UX and design consultancy agency. She also offers workshops and courses with her educational project Design for Geeks and speaks at conferences internationally. Mohammad Sad Khan, a veteran marketeer with over 10 years in content, community, and growth marketing. Sad is currently working as Cloudways Senior Manager at Marketing. He was one of the first members of our marketing team. He's been part of Huawei's Key Opinion Leader program and runs our digital marketing agency academy at Cloudways. Now, to move over to the webinar, I pass the voice to Sat, who alongside Lee, Picha, and Jan will cover everything from the nuances of design to the latest in web development to running an agency in today's market. You're muted.
You're muted.
Here is Sat.
Thank you, Santi. So it's an amazing moment for us for being starting this amazing initiative that we have started. Now we will ask our Mavericks to start their talks, and I think who's gonna come first?
I think I'll go first.
Okay, perfect.
Picha
Perfect.
and Lee for the grand finale.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Perfect.
So Let me start a screen share real quick, because what I want to do today is I want to give a background of the WP Agency Summit, specifically what it takes to optimize a website for a global launch, because that's what's happening right now. We have paid traffic coming onto the website right now, so you can see that essentially what's going on in the real world when you're running a global launch for any sort of digital product. And obviously, we have to start somewhere when it comes to loading speed optimization. And my go-to tool for this is, besides hosting on Cloudways, obviously, to go to gtmetrix.com and perform the loading speed analysis. That gives me performance scores, page details, and detailed breakdowns of what goes on when the website is loading. I won't go into detail with all these specific things because there's just not enough time in my session of this webinar to cover everything in detail, but I want to show you what I've done to my Cloudways server to make this website load in 3.5 seconds and to reduce the number of requests and the total page size. Keep in mind, 3.5 seconds usually is not a time I would be happy with when it comes to loading speed optimization. I would usually go for, say, somewhere around 1 second, maybe with a website this big, maybe 1.5 to 2 seconds. But I'll explain why in this case, 3.5 is actually a really good result, and I'm super happy with this. First of all, before we explain what's going on right here, I want to show you the server setup that I have running. By the way, guys, if I'm going too fast or if I miss anything or you have any questions, just interrupt me, please.
Right. Because this is particularly interesting for me because Lee's another developer, but I'm not. So I feel like I'm going to learn so much from this.
Yeah, bog everything out of me. Question everything out of me.
Great. So the website is really big because obviously it's got all the videos from the speakers. That's why, isn't it?
Right now, I'm just talking about the landing page. So wpagencysummit.com. And this is really big because it has so much content on it. I have like 32, 33 speaker images on here. Then I have these background images going on right here. I have just a plethora of text and content. That's what you would call it. And I also have, when you check the Facebook Pixel Helper, I have 3 Facebook pixels running on the website, which is a novum for me. I've never done that before, but it is my own pixel. It's one of Cloudways and it's one of my mentor. That's why we have 3. And it's just much longer than a regular website would be when you're just scrolling through the website. And that's what is a little bit tricky when it comes to optimizing a page this big for loading speed. Oh, they say people in the group say
can't see the share. That's weird.
Okay. So maybe the Cloudways team can jump in here because I think here in Zoom everybody can see the screen.
Oh, okay. I think it's something showing up now. Yeah, it's happening.
Now. Thanks, Scott.
I tell you, it's OBS, isn't it? I think that's why.
Yeah, that's the nitty-gritty of doing live things.
Yes, I think that's obvious. And
yeah. So I appreciate. I'll start again. Thanks, Max. Thanks, Scott, for confirming that the screen is now working. Ryan Irving still has the stay tuned screen. Ryan, you should just try and reload probably. Okay, perfect. So screen is up and running. Let's start again. Basically, what I was showing in the few minutes I was talking to nobody basically was this analysis of the GTmetrix report that I've done for the website, which shows a page speed score that is okay, Y-slow score that is not good enough for me, but I'll explain why. Fully loaded time of 3.5 seconds. Total page size is actually pretty good with 1.28 megabytes and then 51 requests. And I mentioned that I wouldn't go through all the recommendations right here in GTmetrix. Let's dive into the server setup right now. I think this is where it gets interesting. I'm hosting the website on a Vultr server. So as you can see, this is my live backend. So I have updated all passwords. Don't try to hack me. It's not possible to break those passwords in any serious amount of time. It's a 2 GB Vultr server that is running in Frankfurt. I need Frankfurt because of GDPR and stuff like that. I need to comply to German laws here. Then when it comes to the settings and packages, I have left everything pretty much as it is right now because I don't see any reason to up execution time limits, upload sizes, memory limits, whatever. Everything is working fine right now. Same for the advanced settings here. I didn't change too much. But for the packages, I just want to highlight that it is important for fast loading time, obviously, to use the latest PHP version that's available. I think PHP 7.4 just dropped a couple of days ago or a week ago, but it's yet to be tested and to be integrated into Cloudways so that it runs smoothly. So I'm happy with 7.3. I do have not MySQL as a database, but MariaDB, because that, for me, in my case, gave me some little bit of performance issues. And I do have the Redis cache installed. And I also, in this point, we'll see later why, I want to give a shout out to Piyush Patel, who's helped me with the server setup, because running this event takes up much of my time. So he executed a few optimization techniques for me. Yeah.
Could I just say, just in case we have people watching who don't use the cloud, are not familiar with the Cloudways platform, this is what it looks like. And I can assure you that even I can understand it. So it's really super easy to use, because there was one of our friends Josh Daly, saying that he is worried he'd miss cPanel. And I'm like, this is so much better and easier to use than cPanel. Just no comparison.
That's a good point. I think cPanel gives you a little bit more, let's say, feeling used to, because it's used on so many different hosts. But once you get around managing this interface, you'll see the beauty in it and the simplicity. And that's also the reason why I've pulled up the managed services tab right here, because you can see all the services that are running on this website. Despite for the New Relic monitoring, I have 7 services going on right now, and I don't have to think a minute about what those do and how those run, because Cloudways and the console just manage them for me, which is really the beauty here. If I ever find that the traffic gets too high for the server, which probably will happen on the first day of the event, or maybe on the kickoff event on Thursday, I can just upscale to the next bigger size, or maybe skip to the 8 GB version right now, and you can immediately see how this would impact my monthly bill. And it's also done in a matter of minutes. So it would be like 5 to 10 minutes. If things go wrong, 10 minutes. And then the website would be up and running with a lot more oomph and a lot more power than it has right now. So that's also the reason for me to trust Cloudways with this. When it comes,
can I just say, you say oomph much better than an English person.
Thank you. I know I have a terrible accent, so bear with me.
Wonderfully.
Totally fine. When it comes to the website, one thing that is a bit frustrating right now, but I don't have time to take care about this because of the launch, is that Memberium, a plugin that I'm running, is detecting PHP 7.1, which clearly it's not running on. We've seen that it is running on 7.3, so I don't have time to care about this message, so I just left it in here as a lesson, probably to show what's going on when you're doing a global launch, because there's always something that can go wrong. There's always something that doesn't look 100% right, but you just have to focus on what's really important. And what is important for me is that the website is up and running and that it's loading quickly, obviously. And you'll notice, if you are familiar with Cloudways, you'll know that they have the Breeze caching plugin, and you'll notice that I'm running WP Rocket instead of Breeze. And the reason is WP Rocket includes a bit more functionality, and I just don't want so many plugins during this live launch on the website. It's not so much that it's better, but it's just more bundled. And that's probably due to the majority of the plugin itself, but basically it does the same things. So it minifies HTML, it combines Google Fonts, it removes query strings, minifies CSS files. This is all to reduce the number of requests, as we've seen in GTmetrix right now. Then we have the same for JavaScript files, which is also easily doable in Breeze. And then we have deferred JavaScript loading. That means when the website is loaded, the website is rendered while the JavaScript is loading, so that you don't have this delay until all JavaScript files have been transferred to the browser. One thing that is important to me, we'll get to that in a minute, is the media tab. I want to skip on this for now, because I want to highlight a second session or a second section, that is the CDN. And Cloudways does have its integrated CDN, which works really, really well. But as I mentioned earlier, Piyush Patel is helping me, and he's most familiar with Bunny CDN. That's just the reason I'm using Bunny CDN right now, and we see good results with it. So for the sake of this launch, we'll probably stay with Bunny CDN that is integrated here, as you can see, under his domain even. So I didn't even have time to create my own domain name here. Again, I'm not sugarcoating anything here. I hope you appreciate the transparency. If you were to use the Cloudways CDN, it is super easy. You just go back to your Cloudways interface.
Yeah, it is. I can confirm that.
Go to the applications.
Yeah.
You'll make us look like idiots when it comes to UX and UI.
No, never.
And then you have in the Cloudways CDN section right here, you can just enter your website URL, and it gives you all the details you need to know and fill in the Breeze plugin, and then you're up and running within minutes. So that is super cool, and it is a great service that Cloudways is offering here. Again, for the sake of simplicity, I'm with Bunny CDN right now. Another reason to use WP Rocket over Breeze is that it controls Heartbeat. So that is the admin activity that goes on in Cloudways, in the WordPress backend, with scheduled actions and things like that. I don't really need those to be executed as regularly on this website. So we control Heartbeat. We reduce activity to just reduce overall server load. And then for the add-ons, that's also something that sets WP Rocket apart from Breeze for now, I think. That is the add-on for Google tracking and for the Facebook pixel, so that browser caching can be implemented on those. And Varnish obviously is a given when you're hosting with Cloudways. That is a server-side caching technology that is pre-installed on every WordPress installation if you select the regular WordPress installation on Cloudways. And it helps tremendously speed up the websites. Breeze integrates natively with it. WP Rocket does as well, so nothing to worry. And one thing about the images, before I probably even have run out of time here, is the WebP format. And that's something that has been a massive, massive game changer for me on the website, which is, as you can see, even here's some message that I probably should take care of after this session. That is that JPEGs and PNGs are converted into a different format that is a lot smaller in file size. So when you go onto the website and you just, for fun, count how many images just are here in this speakers to put in section, not to mention the images that go when you scroll through the speakers themselves, you'll see that just saving like 20% on every image is doing a massive benefit on this website, and WebP usually saves much more than 20%. So it was a no-brainer for me to add WebP support, and luckily for me, Cloudways does this. Well, let's go back to WordPress here. Cloudways does this natively. So on some hosts, you have to install some sort of browser, some sort of server software, server libraries that do the formatting and the conversion of JPEG and PNG to WebP. Cloudways has that installed. There was no need to get in touch with the support or something like that. It just works out of the box. And you have some various conversion options right now. I have it to 80% for lossy and lossless. Near lossless is 60%. And again, those settings can be tweaked. I think it's not the optimal version, but for the time that I have, it's good enough. And one last thing.
So this is the for image optimization. This what you recommend. This is what you recommend doing, because I usually obviously I optimize them to death before I upload, and then once they're in, you recommend WebP Express. Okay.
WebP Express. That's the plugin, and
Noted.
that is in combination with lazy loading for images. So lazy loading is this technology that images just load when they are visible on the screen or nearly visible, which also in my case makes a big difference. Mm. And one thing I like to share before I give it over to Picha to tear the website apart in terms of UX and UI is why I'm happy with this 3.5 seconds. And that is because I have 3 Facebook pixels, I have deadline funnels, and I have active campaign tracking running on this website. And you can see that the main amount of requests is served within like 1.9 seconds. Maybe here, when you look at the 1.55 seconds, that's really the last resource that is loaded from the website before the third-party scripts start with deadline funnels, analytics, Facebook, and active campaign, and so on. So essentially, if it weren't for those third-party scripts, we'd be looking at 1.55 seconds, which is exceptional for a website this big, I think. Tooting my own horn here, obviously, so take it with a grain of salt. But I would be really happy with 1.55 seconds. But now with those scripts that I cannot live without, or I don't want to live without, I'm just making the sacrifice that the website is loading a bit slower.
You referred to this earlier as well. Now, this summit is a website. It's not necessarily a temporary website, because the website will stay around, I assume, for the future to come. But right now, this is a launch. You want to get this out to the wide world. So instead of stopping and spending days trying to get this down to 1 second for vanity, the actual user experience is within about 1.5 seconds, because I tested it before the call. I see the information that I need to start reading whilst everything else happens. So good is, and great, to be honest, is better than perfect. This allows you to go live. This has allowed you to get your conference, your online summit, in some incredible publications as well around the world, including WP Tavern, etc. And I know you already have hundreds of people signed up for it. So here is an example of how to speed up the site so that it's good enough, and also how to launch and validate an event from the get-go without wasting time trying to make everything absolutely perfect. And you pointed out that you've made do with a few things, but what you're doing is great, and what you're teaching us here is very easy for other people to do. Sorry, carry on, mate. Yeah.
That's a fantastic summary, and I would love to leave it at that because I can't make it better. So I'll stop my screen share right now, and I'll hand it over to Picha for your session.
Great.
This is where Picha makes people cry.
No, she doesn't. People are actually tease me quite a bit, because I do these reviews in my own group, and also in which is Design for Geeks, and in Nathan Wrigley's group, WP Builds. And people are starting, I mean, hopefully I find them helpful, but they're starting to tease me already, because there's a few things that are my pet hates that I keep repeating. So it's there's no doubt there's people who know me, who are going to possibly laugh because they already know what I will be saying. So you've seen the website, yeah? Mm-hmm. That's okay. So the share is working. I first of all, I want to say that carrying on from what Lee was saying, is that imperfect action is the best kind of action. So I'm kind of nitpicking here, because it's demonstrated already that this is a website that converts. It's Jan has been incredibly successful in signing up people and in getting it noticed by the best press in the industry. So this is a very successful enterprise already. What I'm saying is how you can make it even better, and I'm obviously nitpicking. So the first thing that you need to think about when you look at a web page is, what do I want for the people that land on my website? What's the best thing for them to happen? And how do I make it the same as my best outcome? Basically, that's what you want. It's the sweet spot that is the best for your users as well as the best for you. Because let's not forget, I think it was Zig Ziglar who said, something like, I can't remember the quote exactly, but basically, if you just give the best to people, you be rewarded. If you just give without, which is kind of, it's a very interesting concept in the sense that also Jesus said that, but it's just that think of, it's really interesting when you look at it that way. But basically, don't think about your business, the good of your business, think about the good of the user. And here, what do we have? We have a summit, which, by the way, sometimes I find that actually, yes, it is for WordPress agencies, but if you look at a lot of the talks, doesn't have to be WordPress. You know, your talk, Lee, is not about WordPress. Mine is not about WordPress. There's lots of others that are not about WordPress. So in fact, even if you don't have a WordPress agency, you would get a lot out of this summit. Anyway, without digressing, I am thinking that what you want them to do is register for free. That's your sweet spot, Jan, because you want them to register, obviously, but they want to register as well because they will get it for free. So the first thing that I'm going to say is, because you need to, there are things that are important to bear in mind. And one is that obviously the message is get your free pass and register now for free. So because I am recently paying a lot of attention to what is called microcopy and the UX of copy. So microcopy is the small messages, all our short messages that we have loads of all over our websites. And it's something that I used to do as well, to always give a different message just to make it more interesting. But in fact, that's the one thing that I would say. So if these two buttons do the same thing, do they do the same thing? Register now for free and get your free pass. Is that the same thing? Yep. Then in that case, it should be the same message, because otherwise it's confusing. So what they have in common is the color. So that's good. But you want to also have the same message, because otherwise people may think that they do something different while they don't. Now, I'm going to see what happens, because when we talk about user experience, it's obviously the experience of the user, what happens to them, how easy is it to get to the final goal, which is to sign up. Before I do that, though, I'll say, given that I'm talking about the buttons, one thing that you can do immediately to make it better is, because you're too young, Jan, that's why, because I'm too old, and that register now for free is way too small, and get your free pass is even smaller. It's way too small and way too thin. So I would make it thicker and bigger. I would choose one message, decide which of the messages, maybe see which one converts the better, I don't know. But choose one message, make sure it's the same, make it thicker, and bigger copy for sure. Also, another thing.
So, sorry to interrupt, but that's interesting, because
no, please.
Nathan Simpson just shared that the fonts were so large. I mean, they need better spacing. That's to his point. He mentioned that they also need better spacing. Or I'm just misreading his comment, and he says that I need larger fonts. So if that's the case, I'm sorry.
Okay, I haven't seen the comment. But well, no, I can tell you that there was I've just come back from WordCamp Granada, and there was a friend of mine from Valencia who's an optician. It's not optician. He's a doctor. He teaches at university. He's like a doctor that, is it ophthalmologist? Maybe. Anyway, and he's really passionate about accessibility. Please, anyone interrupt me and ask questions, please do. Everybody free to do that. And he gave a talk about accessibility, and actually the vast majority, a large majority of the people that visit your website will have an issue. So making the fonts bigger makes sure that you don't lose those people like me, because it's definitely way too small for me. And also, another thing that you need to be careful about is that I really complementary colors are brilliant. Complementary colors are colors that, if you see a color wheel, they sit at opposite ends. So orange and blue are complementary colors. But what happens when they sit on top of one another, which is what you have here, so orange sitting on blue, what happens is that they fight a little bit. So for instance, you should never use complementary colors for copy. So this is a bit better because it's a button, but I have any number of weird eyesight. They're sort of weird, they're aberrations. They're sort of minor aberrations. But to me, this button vibrates against the background because they're highly saturated colors and complementary. So I have that issue. So I think you could possibly maybe for that, because it's nice. I don't do anything about that right now, but maybe if you give it a texture or even a gradient, that would I think that would help. Then I'm going to move on to something that is going to laugh anyone who knows me and follows me. And I would like, I can't see the comments right now because I do want, otherwise I would be sharing the Facebook video, which I don't want to do. But I bet there's quite a few people that know already what I am going to say. And possibly Lee knows it and will tease me. But it's the alignment. So I have my biggest pet hate in the on the web is centered alignment, because as far as I'm concerned, centered alignment is not aligned. That's what it is. But you see it a lot, and I understand why. It seems like the obvious thing to do, to just center something around the middle. Now, the thing is that with titles, I can kind of live with it, because especially when titles have, when the two, if it's 2 or 3 lines and they're a similar length, that's acceptable. But in general, centered text is really problematic for accessibility. It's quite hard to read because the eye has to run like this around. You don't have any anchor for your eye. And in your case, why align to the center if you basically have left alignment? So you're not doing yourself a favor by having your title as center aligned when you have everything else aligned to the left. So, and that was something that was said in this accessibility talk. So I was like, yes. So, and I think that because people laugh at me, but at the same time, if you do one thing, is don't center align. That's the one thing that if anybody takes anything away from this, that's it. If you can avoid center aligning.
Well, just to add to this, actually, so Peacher actually came and ripped apart and made me cry a website that we did in the events industry, but it was absolutely essential, because what I was doing was I was going for central alignments in quite a lot of spaces. But so looking at this, Jan, I did this exact same thing, basically. And what it is we're forcing the user to go all over the place with regards to the copy, etc. Whereas if everything was left aligned, they can just literally go just like a book, left and right. So pretty much I've been through all of my sites now, even where I have icons and used to have centrally aligned text. I'm now shoving everything over to the left because I have this little bubble of Peacher like in a movie.
So
screaming at me if I center align.
So there's basically what I would do in this case. I'm stupid when it comes to design, so bear with me here. Basically what I would do is I would just push that entire headline, go behind the scenes, blah, 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 to the left over the image. And that's it.
Okay, that's a really good point, because I tell you something else here that I think you could do better is the space between blocks. You don't have enough space between blocks. I know that. I mean, I've got a huge screen, so I know that you want certain things to be above the fold. Probably above the fold is a technical term that means it was actually referring to newspapers in old times. When you folded a newspaper, you had above the fold that was before it was folded, and below, and it's still used in web design. It's a bit obsolete now because people definitely know to scroll, but still it works. And I understand that you don't want to push things too far down, but at the same time, don't be afraid of white space. White space, like alignment, is your friend, because you give a breather to content and you lead the eye. So the reason why you align to the left and you use space between elements is that you lead the eye. It's in your power to lead the user where you want them. Right now, obviously something works because people are signing up, but maybe you would convert even more. It would take less time, or they would be happier, because it's also how happy or unhappy you feel. And if things are clearer, then you're happier. Now, I would say, looking at this, I would try it out, actually, because also another thing that slightly bothers me, because I'm an alignment freak, is that the top of the image is not the top of the text block.
Yeah.
So, and I see it, I know that but the thing is that even those of us who are not designers and are not freaks, you don't know that you see it, but you do, because your eyes sort of jumping all over the place, and all the content is disconnected. So think of a hierarchy, what you want people to see first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and build, because what you want them to do is to register now for free. That's what you want them to do. So lead them there in an easier way, in an easier flow, and don't be afraid of the space between elements, because right now there is no real there is no real guidance for the eye, and that's what I would recommend. But right now, I don't know whether it's better to align everything. I don't know if can you see my mouse moving? Yeah. So I'm wondering whether you should align everything to the left here, or whether you should maybe make the image bigger and align the title to the text, to the paragraph block. You should try that out. Definitely also align this button. What's it doing floating on its own over there? So align that as well.
Peter,
also,
would you agree that the orange and the white don't work on that button? Because for my eyesight, I actually can't read that very well.
Absolutely not.
Sorry,
enough
Jen.
contrast.
Love you, mate.
That was something else.
Okay.
The thing is, if you made it thicker and bigger, it would work better, but definitely not enough contrast. And there's lots of online tools that you can use to check the contrast with. And in terms of colors, also always check the saturation. You should never, web colors shouldn't be too saturated, because screens work with light. Therefore, an 80% of saturation is almost too much, because it will vibrate. So another thing that I wanted to say before I forget is that there's lots of details here. Now, there's one of the Bibles of web design and usability and UX is "Don't Make Them Think" by Steve Krug, and I think it's more usability than UX, but anyway, the basic concept, which is also the basis of the Gestalt theory of vision, which I'm not going to go into, but it's really, really simple, just tells us how our brain works. And the main principle is, do not make them think. Give people's brains as fewer details as possible. That's why simple design in the Design for Geeks group, someone brought up the question saying, my designs are always too complicated. I want them to be minimal and I don't know how to do it. That's because it's the most difficult thing about design. Just take away whatever isn't needed. Look at Steve Jobs, look at Apple. That's how they did it. So this image, I totally understand why you're doing it, because some of the people that you are, there are famous people. I'm not saying me, but there are famous people in there. We've got this guy over here with a hat. Anyway, and so you want them to be seen, but at the same time, they're way too small. No one's going to really see them that well. So it's a little bit of wanting to do too much, I think. So if you use that image, make it much bigger so that people can see, or don't have that image. Be brave. Have something else. Have an illustration or something else that represents all these speakers, because you don't have all of them there anyway, do you? You don't, because it's more than 30. So I feel honored that I'm there, but you don't have all of them anyway. So in a way, if you have found one image that represents it, or no image, because imagine having this headline really much bigger that occupies sort of the left bit. It would be easier to read. I would probably get a better idea than I do now. I'm not saying that you need to take away the image, but it's just a thought. These things then you need to test out, because otherwise you can't, it's difficult for me to say, but that's how I would tidy it up. I would just make it tidier.
In the next launch, probably, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So now, but what matters and what obviously works is, I haven't actually done this. What happens? I haven't registered. Perfect. So you've made it as easy as possible for me to register, just the easiest possible thing.
With plenty of center text.
I was going to say, I wanted to say.
I love it. I promise you, I can't see the comments, but I'm sure. I mean, there are people now that are because every month, once a month in my group and once a month in the WP Builds group, people can submit their URL and give me sites to look at. And people are starting to say, you don't need to mention the center text. I know already. which is hilarious and slightly embarrassing. Anyway, so yeah, and see how the orange works much better here with a darker blue. It doesn't vibrate so much. I mean, I see it, you know, that really works much better. But still same. Can you see how the contrast, the white text again, even if this text is thin and on the small side, is still the contrast is high enough, but not too high, because it can't be too high, that I can read it, whereas the orange here is much more, there's just isn't enough contrast. So I'm just going to go back here.
I've shared in the Facebook chat something that we use. It's called WebAIM, which is web accessibility in mind is their phrase, and it allows you to kind of do a foreground and a background contrast, and it'll give you the contrast ratio, and it'll give you like a green color if it's a good contrast ratio. So we tend to check things against that in advance, and then we'll push back to a designer if there's any problems.
It's a brilliant tool. Yeah, no, sorry. And it's also really the thing is that what I try and get people to understand about design is that, have I talked about my personal taste? Not at all. I haven't said anything at all about what I like or don't like. I haven't expressed.
Apart from central alignment, you kind of said that it upsets you.
Yeah, but the thing, but the reason, but it's not. Absolutely, but at the same time, it's not taste, is it? It's dyslexic person can't see it, that can't read there are really good reasons, and I hate it for good reasons. It's not a personal preference in the sense of, oh, I don't like blue. Well, that's not my. Who cares? Yeah. And then I'm gonna because I really can't wait for Lee's bit. So, but for instance, here you've done exactly the right thing in that. All these logos, if you hadn't made them in grayscale, it would drive us insane because so many different details. But what I would do to make it even better is to give more space. So absolutely great that you grayscale them. That's exactly what you should do. But give more space between them because it's very crowded and they're a bit too much on the eye without the spaces, but that's really well done. So I want to now leave it to Lee.
Survived. Yes.
Yes, you did. I mean, I told you would. I told you would.
I appreciate the insights. Definitely some golden advice here.
Hopefully it is always helpful. Otherwise there would be no point. Right, awesome. So now over to you, Lee. Can't wait.
Sure. Well, I was asked to share. We don't need a screen share for this because I have no slides. Because if I do slides, I will talk for hours and I will bore people with PowerPoint. So I've got a whole load of notes of stuff that I want to share. Quick background: if you're not aware of who I am, I run the Agency Trailblazer podcast, and we've got the Agency Trailblazer community, of which I know a whole load of you are watching. So hi, you awesome people. And what I do is I create content, and I've also got my own event, which is the Agency Transformation event, of which we've grown because of content. And Jan is very good at creating content. He's not only, though, been creating content for himself on his own web spaces, but he's also been doing this. I mentioned earlier WP Tab, and he's been doing that across a whole range of platforms, as well as on behalf of other people. Now, we all recognize as agency owners that content marketing is actually gold. And this is what Cloudways as well are doing very well. If we check the Cloudways blog, we've got an awful lot of content on there, and they've got guest posts as well, which I absolutely encourage. Now, as an agency owner, let's face facts. We are busy. We are building websites for other people. We're playing around with hosting systems because we like it. We're geeks. We just want to be the people who sit behind our computer screen and do what we do best. If you read the book, The E-Myth Revisited, it talks about the way we set up our business, and we're all actually the people who want to do the work. We really just want to sit there. And within us is a little bit of an entrepreneur and a little bit of a manager, but really we just want to sit and we want to code. We want to play with tools. We want to go to AppSumo and go buy stuff. That's the way we roll, and we kind of have to find a way to still serve the manager who wants to market the business, and we need to find a way as well to serve the entrepreneur who wants to grow the business. So I highly recommend that book as something that you folks read. Now, when you are looking to market your business, one of the most effective ways to market your business, your online summit like this one that we've been talking about today, is through content marketing, is through creating value for people. So presenting value to the people that you want to talk to, and you need to know who it is you serve. So if we were to look at Jan's website, we can see that he is serving agency owners. He is clearly serving the WordPress community, and he knows that the WordPress community don't just want to know about WordPress plugins. He knows that they actually want to hear from a whole plethora of people across a whole load of different expertises to help them run their business, to help them run their agency. So he's been able to gather people together who will serve the audience that he understands he is serving. So the first thing you're going to want to know before you even create any content, before you launch any idea, is who the heck are you serving? You need to understand who they are, because you do something very special for them. You solve problems for them. And that's the next thing you need to be aware of, is what are the problems that you are solving for those people. Jan knows the problems that he is solving for his clients. He mentions them in his copy. He's got people who will be able to provide answers to those problems. And I'm sure when he's creating any future content as well, it will be around the problems, because people will resonate with that. Oh, I've got that problem. I'm going to go check that out. I need to go and hear from that amazing feature, because I have no idea. My website's a mess and no one's clicking on that button. I want to get more conversions. So they're going to go ahead and sign up to that, because that's speaking to their particular problem. So understand who it is you're serving, what your superpowers are, what you're really, really good at, and what those problems are that those people have. And then you can start to create content. That's where we can start to do our content marketing. So you'll know that I've got sorry, carry on.
I just wanted to say, just really quickly, isn't it amazing that the thing know your customer applies to absolutely everything?
It's insane. Yeah.
UX, marketing, content,
including marriage.
Exactly. So it's just the same for everybody. Once you get that right, so it's worth doing the research, because it's at the basis of UX is the research, which is exactly what my talk at the summit is about, by the way. And it's amazing how it applies across the board. Absolutely.
No, you are absolutely right. Knowing your customer. And I mean, I used to write blog posts of like, hey, we're moving office, or here's how to align some columns in CSS. That is literally a post. If you look at archive.org and go and look at my old website, you'll see that that's the sort of stuff I was doing. And that's not what my target audience was interested in. My target audience were design agencies who wanted to understand how to run their agencies more effectively. They wanted to understand marketing strategies. They wanted to understand all sorts of things that I knew about, but I wasn't talking to them about. And that's really, really important. So with your content marketing strategy, you want to start creating content that's going to resonate with those people who have the problems that you solve for them. And the best ways you can generate some ideas for any sort of content, be that video, be that podcast, be that written, is to go ahead and check your email. Believe it or not, your email is a absolute goldmine of content that you will be able to write blog posts on. If you look at just the subjects, you don't even need to read the emails. Most of the subjects, you might get the odd snotty one off a client, but that's fine. It's still golden content. They're asking you a particular question. How do I do X? What do I do with Y, etc.? And this is content that you can put, say, as a blog or as a video, etc., that can then be used with future clients as well if they were to ask the same question. We do that. I've got podcasts on particular topics. A client will come to us and say, hey, what do we do with the project? How do we manage the project? I send them off to the podcast where I say, this is how we manage projects, along with the template download where you can see the entire structure, because that is valuable content that speaks to the problems as well that my clients have, which is managing multiple projects, etc. The other thing you can do is ask your clients. Just talk to them, have conversations with them. What we try and do is we ring our clients every few months, have a chat. It doesn't even have to be about work. We just want to find out what is going on in their lives. Maybe they're working on a big project. Maybe they've just taken on some new platform and everyone's all trying to work out how to use it. We had one client the other day trying to implement a CRM system into their company. So I was able to then create content based on that, all about processes and how you can buy new software, but it ain't going to solve the problem unless you've actually sorted out your processes internally as a business. So that was, again, inspiration based on just having a chat with clients, etc. Also, we're all part of a community. A lot of people here who are watching today, I can see you all are all part of either Peaches, Jan's, or mine, or are part of the Cloudways community. And that's a great source. If you are in a social media community, you can go ahead and, for your niche, then you can go ahead and you can see what are people talking about, what are people asking. Maybe there's a Reddit channel for your industry. Go ahead and check that out. What are people asking, and then start to create content about that. All right, so we've just covered ideas, so we understand that we need to serve the people that we serve. We want to create content for them, and we're going to find out from them what sort of content we need to create. Well, how the hell are you going to do it? Because that is probably most people's blocker. Perhaps you've got some great ideas for content, but every time you open WordPress or Microsoft Word, if you still use that, it's blank and you've no idea how to start it. So the first thing I would say is get your title nailed. And then with the title, create 3 to 5 bullet points of what it is you need to cover. So there'll be a bullet point for the intro, and then maybe some bullets for each of the points that you want to make and the actions that you want the particular person to take. This still can apply to a blog post, and it can apply to a video or even to a podcast. And if you listen to any solo episode that I do, every 30-minute podcast was based on 5 bullet points and a title, and then I just go for it.
So it's kind of creating an outline.
Just literally create an outline and then go for it, because you know more. But that's one of the biggest issues is people don't know or don't give themselves the credit. You know way more. I've actually got 5 bullet points on my screen right now, and I'm chatting at you all. So you know way more than you give yourself credit for. So the way I create my content, this is your hack essentially, is I talk. I don't write. Because if I sit and write, it's going to take me hours. I self-edit, and I know a lot of people will do this. You want the perfect opening line, and then as you're typing, you're kind of self-editing, and you've got spelling issues and all sorts going on. It's just distracting. If you've got your bullet points, i.e. your outline, like Syed said, then go ahead and record yourself talking. And that's what I do. I actually answer each bullet point as if someone has physically asked me a question. And then I'll go, oh, blah, 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 blah. And then I send that off to rev.com, who transcribe it for me. Which is awesome.
I think that's a wonderful idea, and that's what happens with me as well.
Because my problem is that I'm a perfectionist. So again, back to taking perfect action, and it can take me months. And I write like 5,000 words blog posts, and it's just a disaster. And then I end up not producing, and then I write a Facebook post which comes really easy to me. And then I go, why the hell don't you do that on your own website? Why does it? Do you know what I mean? So would you recommend doing that? If I write a Facebook post that's interesting, shall I turn that into a blog post without?
Yes, that's actually one of the hacks. I'll share those with you. So I'll come back to that.
Sorry.
I won't forget you. All right. So the first thing we've just suggested is, do the audio, convert that, and then you obviously edit the audio, because if you were to read the transcript of everything I've just said, I speak in extremely long sentences. So you have to edit, put a few full stops in and a few commas, etc., to make it a bit more readable. But that's going to give you essentially the content that you need to do. But the other thing you can do is repurpose audio that you've recorded. So maybe you've been interviewed, or maybe you've been in a meeting. Every single meeting I go to, I take this and I say, do you mind if I record this meeting so I can make notes later? And they're like, yeah, absolutely fine. I hit record, leave it on the table. And when clients ask me questions, I tend to answer in blog posts. You don't realize it, but if you talk for 2 to 3 minutes, you've just spoken a blog post naturally with pretty much no issues to your client. They've had a massive value in that 3-minute answer, and you've now got a podcast that you can snip out of your audio and send off to rev.com to get them to transcribe that for you. So these are the sorts of things you can do. It's absolutely easy, in my opinion, to be able to create these sorts of content. And obviously, if you can get used to answering questions in audio form, that's going to put you on a platform to allow you to then maybe move into things like podcasting or move into video, etc.
I think it's more of a Gary style, and he actually does a lot of repurposing of his content and from his talks and everything. So I think it's a very great idea.
I'm way better looking than Gary Vee, though. So now with what Peter was saying about how it naturally comes to answer a social media post, I've seen some of Peter's posts, responses to posts. They are actually blog posts. You could quite literally copy and paste what you've written Maybe add a little bit of extra supporting information, but you've got the structure of the blog post in most of yours. You've done it in our group, Peter. I've seen them. You've got this big, massive response. There's about 500 words in there, and you can literally then use that and repurpose that. Because if someone's asked it in our, your target audience have asked that question, you've given them an amazing answer and blown them away, and they've had value. That value should not just be for them. That should definitely, therefore, go on your website and also become the, Saad was talking about repurposing that Gary Vee talks about. You could then take snippets, even if it's snippets of your answers to people from social media, could become real quick little videos that can go into your social media campaigns as well.
Right.
All sorts of stuff that you could be repurposing. Hopefully that
helps. I'm going to do it.
But also you can repurpose your emails, because when a client asks you a question and you reply, again, because you're not thinking I'm writing a blog post here, you're just like, this is the reason why we do this, blah, 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 blah. If we don't do this, then that's going to happen, blah, 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 blah. Send it and you forget about it. You've actually probably got in your sent items tons of ideas for videos, for blog posts, for content, for social media posts. You've probably got loads of amazing tweetable one-liners in your emails as well. That's why I said it's a gold mine. You can go back in there as well. So have a look at your social feeds, have a look at your comments, have a look in your emails, etc. Because that is essentially how we come up with so much content all the time. I just look in Gmail. It's the best place to go and find ideas for content, and it's got a great search facility as well to do that. The final thing as well, before I wrap up for like any final questions, is what we also recommend you do is batch. So obviously I put out a lot of content, and the only way I can stay out on top of our content, the only way tomorrow's podcast will go live, for example, is the fact that I'll have recorded at least 6 episodes way in advance. They're all batched, they're all written up, they're all edited, they're all transcribed, and they're all automatically scheduled so that I don't actually have to worry about them for the next 6 weeks until I do another batch of recordings. And you can do the same with your blog posts. If you want to put a blog out a week, write them all at the beginning of the month and then let them trickle out whilst you're writing other ideas throughout that month for the following month. So any questions? Sorry, I recognize that I did just talk for a rather long time.
I have a question about, because one thing that I get really paranoid about is SEO, because if you're using Yoast, you just get, I want the green light. And if the light isn't green, then I don't, and that's makes me waste a lot of time or spend a lot of time. And so how long would you say minimum length of a blog post, and how long do you spend on SEO? How long to publish a blog post for you? What's the
full transparency? I have no idea. Don't ask me. We should probably get one of those experts on. But for me, obviously, my blog posts are a minimum of 500 long, just naturally, right, without me actually making that effort. With regards to the green lights and with regards to the SEO, I've never really focused on SEO for, say, Agency Trailblazer and everything. It's all grown organically because for me, I am answering topics and I'm talking about things that I know people want to learn about. And then we're growing organically through social media, through repurposing a lot of the information that we're doing as social tweets, etc. So we've just organically grown massive amounts of traffic, which is why we had to move to Cloudways, actually. It was because our site kept falling apart. So we moved over so that we could cope with that traffic. So I do know, and I recognize it was actually Pete Everett that's been teaching me some SEO. There's a whole lot of stuff that I could have been doing that would have probably doubled the amount of downloads that we're getting. So I'm the first person to hold my hand up and say, that's something I've neglected and something that we've changed. Because if you run a search for design podcast, we ain't nowhere near there yet. So I've been doing a design podcast for 4 years and we don't even register in Google. And we've been working on the last 3 weeks to change that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Who's next? What's next?
I think it's all done from you guys. So I think I'm gonna tell the audience that first it's one of the first few webinars that we will be doing, and there will be more coming along, and from the Mavericks and from customers, partners, and employees as well. So it was really an interesting to listening to you guys because you have been a part of Cloudways community from a long time, and you have been like contributing to our cause and contributing to the company. So it's going to be a fun. It's just the start, and we are looking forward to meet a lot of Mavericks within this team, and hopefully you will be guys coming along another time as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so, yeah.
So I think I'll ask the people to put the comments in the comment section, and we'll be there to answer in any way I can. We will be there. And also, we were talking about the content, so we have a very interesting content process that we follow at Cloudways, because we have a huge blog and a lot of people reading our blog on daily basis. So what I'll do is that I'll put a link of the SOP that we use for content outlines and the competition analysis we do, and the SEO stuff that we do.
Ah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I think we'll end our first webinar. I think that people have really liked it, and we'll get the feedback, and we'll send the email to get the feedback and see that where we can move from there.
Quick answer for Dave. Yes, ATR 2100. Carry on.
And in the spirit of know your customer that we were talking about, do let us know. Let us know what you would like to hear. Let's see if you liked it, if you didn't like it, what you would like us to improve. We need to hear from you.
Yes.
Really.
Yes.
Tear me apart. I'm used to it now.
Yeah, we could have a weekly roasting session, couldn't we?
Yeah, they're fun. I like them.
So you were so nice. You were so nice, Peter.
I hope so. I try. I aim to please, really.
Okay, guys. I think let's say goodbye to our audience, and
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you so
Cheerio,
much.
folks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So, are we live still?
We don't know. It's still live on Facebook because there's a lag,
delayed.
so we don't know. So we may still be live. Still
That's
going,
awesome.
still going.
That was so much fun.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was so much fun. We can say that for sure. It was so nice. I just really like the lives. To me,